Mm, New day. Mm. New day, new way. Turn it up, leaning 15 minutes. Let the change begin. Busy life, big dreams, so much noise in your ears. We cut straight through, make the next step clear. Thought for Thursday, real talk, real tools right now. In 15 we move the dial, simple steps, strong moves. You'll see how. Thought for Thursday, clarity that sticks. You'll feel it from insight to action, and impact that stays. Thought for Thursday, let's change a day.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday. Welcome to Thought for Thursday. I am happy to be here with you this evening, today, whenever it is that you actually listen in or watch this podcast. As you know, Thought for Thursday is a portion of Leveling Up the Podcast, which of course is our longer podcast. And we have some new episodes up for that on YouTube. So make sure to go to the Jolie's page to listen in on that. However, Thought for Thursday, like I was saying, we bring to you on Thursdays and we tackle a pain point or something that we know that you could use some support on. We give you 5 tips before you leave here. You will have 5 tools that you can use to get on the other side of whatever that pain point is. So, as you know, we've been talking about the identity shift model and how it is that this whole process, how it is that that program really helps to get you to where you need to be or where it is that you desire to reinvent what it is you desire to reinvent. As a part of the process, there are also some stages in there, and I introduced that to you this week. So, all of the pieces, the pillars that are a part of the program, actually coincide with some stages. And the stages, sometimes it's not always easy to immediately identify where you are as far as the pillars go. But I guarantee you, if you've been listening, if you have gotten that email that I send out on Mondays that I usually give to my to those who follow here and to those who are in the Journey Society and to just anybody who requests it, I laid out that map earlier this week and I want to delve into it a little more because I want to make sure that you kind of understand what the phases are. And I want to see if you can identify where you are in those phases. And for those of you who have not heard about it, well, don't worry. I'm going to give you a brief overview. We're going to walk through this map. We did it on social media a bit. And tonight, I really want to make it more personal for us. I want to give you 5 practical tips for navigating the moment, okay, on the journey. So I think I may have given, and I have to go back and look, there may be about 5 stages or 5 places on the journey. And I gave you 5 tips on navigating where you are on the map during a particular stage. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So, first of all, let's kind of go over what we're talking about. So, there are 5 moments really that are definitely a part of the journey. And I have put these moments in the map. If you desire to have the map, just go ahead and drop a comment in the text that says map, and I'll be sure to get that over to you so you can see what this looks like. If you're anything like me, a visual is always helpful. So, those phases or those moments, so to speak, there is the awakening. And that's a place where you are, or that's a time when you're feeling like something in you is just refusing to stay quiet anymore. You have had enough. You've sat on this thing. You've been in this particular situation. You have been navigating these circumstances for a while, and enough is enough. And you're saying, there's something in me that's stirring, and I can't stay quiet about it anymore. The second moment is kind of that unraveling. Everything you built your identity on, everything that you've been doing over all these years, all the people you've supported, all of the things that you've done in your career, all of the things that you've done, in your personal life. Many of them are still a part of who you are and what you're doing, but some of it is really just starting to unravel because it just doesn't feel like it fits you any longer. That is what I'm calling the unraveling stage. Everything you built your identity on is really kind of starting to feel uneasy or uncomfortable because you've kind of outgrown it or you've moved to a different place. The third moment is the wilderness. And just the sound of that. Who wants to be in the wilderness, not really knowing where you are, sometimes not being able to deal with the elements? The elements can be rather harsh. You're no longer who you were, but not yet who you really are becoming. That's the wilderness. That's that stage where that kind of in between stage. And I also mentioned a gap in there. And sometimes we fall in that gap if we don't quite know how to get around that particular moment. The fourth one is the becoming. You are starting to rebuild on your own terms. And for many of you, it'll be for the first time. You have rebuilt you probably over and over again on some terms that perhaps some other people have set out there for you. Well, this particular moment, after you've gone through those stages, this particular moment is one that you are doing on your own. You've reached a whole new point. And that fifth one is the rise. We always end with the rise, right? That's what we want to do. So you're stepping into your power. And I've been talking about how the power years are right now. And then, showing some graphics in there where I'm doing power moves. And I really want you to get the idea of this is a explosive time for you, a time when change really can happen and you need to move. All right. So those are the 5 moments. Those are the 5 moments that we are thinking about. And I'll go through these. All right. Hopefully you've had, somewhat of a minute if you didn't hear this before, but a little bit of time. I know we didn't give you a whole lot, or I didn't give you a bunch, but some time to kind of think about, so where am I in this? Where am I just awakening? All right. And if that's you, go ahead and note that, or you can drop it in the comment below this video, below this live that's running right now. Drop 1 for awakening, 2 for unraveling, okay, 3 for the wilderness, 4 for becoming, and 5 for the rise. Determine where you are. And again, put that in there, if you want to, if you feel inclined to do so. And I will definitely follow up with you to talk about those moments if you note them for me to see. But if you don't want to do that, go ahead and just write them down and think about that for a moment. So as promised, I've told you the moments, and now I'm going to tell you how it is that you can get around them. How is it that you can navigate this journey being in the particular spot that you're in on the map? So first we talked about what? The awakening. Okay. And I apologize. I've just realized that my text below it is really small. So I'm going to tell you exactly what it says. How about that? And if you request the notes from this, I'll also send that to you. So put map in the comments and put notes if you want the notes. And then I will follow up and figure how it is that we can get those to you if you don't have an email on file with us already. But the awakening, remember, that is the time when you are starting to feel like, okay, something's not quite right. I need to make some changes. That is the awakening. And you just don't want to stay quiet anymore. So what do you need to do? Stop explaining that stirring away and lean into it. You really do feel it. And that is the most dangerous thing that you can do, is to ignore it. And I know many of us have been doing it for a while, right? We can convince ourselves, that is just where we are. We just feel like this, we're tired, but it is more than that. You need to recognize that this is a stage, that this is something telling you, okay, this isn't quite right. And I do need to move. I do need to do something. So, the first thing you want to do is stop trying to explain it away. Let me give you a practical tip for this week, at least for this. Spend a few minutes, every morning for the week coming up, because we're at the end of the week. Spend a few minutes just kind of sitting with that question. Am I really explaining this away? Should I be taking it seriously? Spend a few minutes on that and jot down how you really feel. Not necessarily what you should do about it, but just recognizing. That's what we're talking about right now. Just recognizing something ain't quite right. And I probably need to pay attention. All right. That second phase, that second moment, that's called the unraveling. And that's where I want you to stop trying to hold it together and let it loosen. All right. So, what are we talking about again when we talk about the unraveling? That is that time when everything that you've kind of built, your whole identity, everything is starting to feel like it just doesn't fit anymore. And we've already talked about the awakening and the fact that you need to lean into something, you can't keep quiet about these things anymore. Well, go ahead and let loosen what is starting to unravel. Everything in you really kind of wants to stabilize the unraveling, because that's what we do. We try to hold it together, right? You want to find the answer, make a plan, fix the feeling, and make sure that you get back to solid ground as fast as you can. And that impulse makes sense, but it's also working against you, okay? Because you're trying to control that unraveling. And it's not anything that really has to, or that really should be fixed or can be fixed. It's something that really you have to move through. The old identity is kind of loosening itself, all right, before the new one can really form. Think about that. It has to kind of break down a bit so that it can be made anew. And trying to hold all of it together is like trying to kind of hold leaves on a tree in autumn. It's hard. It's not going to happen. A tip for this week: identify one of those beliefs or one of those roles that's loosening up right now, and you know it. You know what's not feeling right, and it's really starting to loosen and unravel a bit. Write it down, and underneath what you write down, write this sentence. All right, I'm trying to help you to embrace this process at this moment. Write this: I release my loyalty to this because it is no longer who I am becoming. Write that sentence under whatever that belief is, and then say it loud. Say it and feel it in your spirit. All right, because that's the beginning of the release work. And that is a huge piece of what it is we need to do. And then, all right, I'm trying to move us right along here. The wilderness. The wilderness. We said that, you're not quite where you want to be. You're definitely not where, you're not comfortable where you are. You've kind of moved beyond that. And what you need to do is really kind of stop measuring your progress by how far you have come, and really start to measure it by how long you have stayed. And that's powerful, isn't it? Don't look at how, because if you start looking at how far you've come, you're going to convince yourself that you have not come far enough, and it's too late, it's too long, you're too old, you're too this, there's not enough money, all of the twos that I've talked about before. And you're going to stay in that wilderness and wander around, like Moses, just in the wilderness, way longer than you need to be. You need to go ahead and, recognize if that is where you are. Because honestly, it's a very critical place. It is a very slippery slope when you're there, because that is the place where we really kind of start to give up. It's often, there's sometimes no visible evidence that anything is really changing. And that gets us sometimes. You can't see the new identity yet. You can't point to results yet. And without visible evidence, our brains kind of starts telling us, okay, so that's not working. That's not where we want to be. That's not making any sense. What do you mean you're not where you want to be? You probably need to go back to that and don't try and push forward. That's our brains trying to make sense of it all. But staying in the wilderness, when everything you want or everything in you really wants to retreat, that's the work. Let's just be real. It requires some work. It's not the absence of progress, it's really kind of the proof of it. You're starting to move through it little by little. So, a tip for the upcoming week is all next week, or you can start tonight. Write down that one way you stayed. All right. Every day this week, write down one way that you stayed, not one thing you achieved. All right. But one moment you chose the discomfort of becoming over the comfort of who you used to be. Because remember, that's what we're trying to do. So write down that moment. When did you actually do that? That is your evidence. That's why I want you to write it down, because that is your progress, and collect that every single day. What else? The becoming. It's starting to happen. If you're in this stage, my tip for you is to stop waiting until the new identity feels complete before you start acting like her. Don't wait until it's all exactly where you need it to be and say, okay, this is the new me now. No, because you shouldn't act once it is already completed. You need to act this through the entire process. So completion is wonderful, and you definitely want to get there. It's not really a destination that you arrive at and then, just start living from it. It's a practice that you begin before it feels natural even. You start before it feels really, really comfortable to you, because this new identity is formed through action and not through thought. So you know it and not moving on it, that's not really doing anything for the becoming process. You don't need to become this person having everything figured out, because guess what? We'll never let ourselves do anything. We'll never change, because having it all figured out is really a myth that some of us fall up under. Now, we can have a lot figured out. We can have a lot put in place. Don't get me wrong. But when is it that you have it all figured out? The entire future. That would be great, right? That would be wonderful. But you become her by showing up as her, all right, before you feel ready. Every time you make a decision from your new value instead of the old one, you become her a little more, a little more, a little more. And every time you say no to something that belongs to that old identity, you become her. All right. So identify one of those decisions tonight, this week, that you have been putting off because you're waiting to feel more like the new version of you. Identify it, and then guess what? Start acting like the new version of you. Okay, the last is the rise. The rise. Oh my goodness. You are moving. You have done the work. You are starting to rise, and stop rising quietly. Your rise is someone else's permission slip. Tell somebody that you've got it figured out, or you've got a lot of it figured out, because that's a part of the process too, is being able to share that you have found a solution. And like I just said, that's someone else's permission slip to even begin the process sometimes. I frequently talk about the importance of the journey and sharing it. Well, that's what I'm pointing to here as well. The rise. Don't downplay it. Okay. We have a tendency to minimize things that we've done. Don't downplay it. We say things like, I still have so far to go, or, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm sure not where I used to be. And that may be true, but we kind of hide behind that sometimes because we try to downplay what it is that we've done. Don't do that. Let's stop that. Let's stop minimizing the work that we've put in. Let's stop minimizing where we're trying to go. So your practical tip for this week is share something about your rise. Share something about the rise. If you are in the stage where you're rising, share it. Again, realizing that we're all at different stages. Identify which stage you are, and then use the tips that I've given you tonight to navigate through them. So we've gone a little over the 15 minutes, but I wanted to be sure. I wanted to make certain that I covered all of these stages because this is such an important part of the work that we need to do in order to make the difference that we want to see. We need to know where we are in this process. Do we even realize that we have a process to go through? Do we know what it is that we need to do? All right. And I tried to give you some tips tonight to help you through that. I have a couple more things. Number one, if this is some work that you know you need to do, go ahead and drop that in the chat for me. Let me know I need the work. I need some support. If not, I also need you to reach out to me. You can do it via email. You can do it via, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, LinkedIn, same way. Don't try to put it off just simply because you feel uncomfortable, or for many of us, we feel ashamed that there are some things that we need to do, and we feel we should be further along than we are. All the things that we tell ourselves, get over those. It's okay to need the support. It's okay to need the help. And I'm more than happy to be able to give that to you. So, what is it that I have coming up that will definitely be beneficial to you? I see somebody is writing something over here. I have a mastermind that's coming up on the 18th of this month. Absolutely free mastermind. And it's going to help you to begin to navigate these places. And it's called the Power Years Mastermind. I've got a QR code written right there. And when I'm finished here, I'm also going to drop in the URL for you to just go register. Again, this is absolutely free, and it will probably be some of the most powerful work, perhaps the most powerful couple of hours that you have spent on yourself, that you have dedicated to making change for you in a very, very long time. You have absolutely nothing to lose by attending and everything to gain by walking away with a blueprint, with an idea that there are some things that you can do, that the too late, too old, all of those things really should be non-existent. And that these are really your power years, and the years that you can make impact, you can make change. So go ahead, scan that QR code for sure, and sign up for this mastermind. Again, on the 18th of June, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are doing this virtually, absolutely free, and you're going to leave with some tools, with a map that's going to help you to see where it is that change needs to take place, where you are in the process, and how it is that you can get there. All right. So that's it for tonight. You also see that I'm scrolling at the bottom, the URL for our Journey Share, or for our Journey Society Facebook group, a community where we support each other by sharing the journey. Make sure that you go and find these episodes on YouTube, as well as our longer podcast. I have a series going on right now where we are interviewing women who've made some real impact, who have navigated the journey and found answers that will help you, that have helped them. So go out and listen to those podcasts as well as we continue this series. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for staying a little longer. Make sure that you plug into you in these power years. Make sure that you are doing something that's going to help to elevate you, that's going to help to inspire and ignite finally that fire that you have perhaps been keeping dim. Something that's going to help you to move and finally achieve some of those goals that you have perhaps hidden, pushed down, or that you've held on for a very long time. Make sure that you go out and touch something because you really do have the solution, and you have the solution that somebody needs. And that solution, of course, is for you, but it's also to help someone else along the journey. In this day and age, with so much going on, make sure that you do your absolute best to acquire a life that thrives and not one in which you are simply living in mediocrity, because that will get us absolutely nowhere. And that will get us living in distress and living again a life in which we are not being our absolute best and living in purpose. And remember, in all that you do, do your absolute best to be well.
Mm-hmm. New day. Mm-hmm. New day, new way. Turn it up, leaning 15 minutes. Let the change begin. Busy life, big dreams, so much noise in your ears. We cut straight through, make the next step clear. Thought for Thursday, real talk, real tools right now. In 15 we move the dial, simple steps, strong moves, you'll see how. Thought for Thursday, clarity that sticks, you'll feel it from insight to action, and impact that stays. Thought for Thursday, let's change a day.